Hey, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome Oakland District 6 Councilmember Loren Taylor is back, and we're talking about the Derek Chauvin verdict. Hey, Loren, it's great to have you back. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Andy. Doing well. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Great.
What do you think about the verdict from your perspective?
Yeah, so I know I posted on social media about it, and everyone had some initial words, but I think as a black man in America, it's one of those where, we're relieved, pleased that justice has been served in this situation, but also waiting for the other shoe to drop. There are so many times where we've been lulled into thinking, okay, well, this time is different, or this is something that's going to really change systemically, but yet we often get pulled back from that. And so I think there's a cautious optimism that I have. There's a gratefulness for those who were involved in getting us to this point, but at the same time, the reality of the past is not that easily shakable. And so that's where I am. It's definitely relief, definitely much better than had the verdict come out opposite a different way. So I guess that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Have you ever been victimized by police brutality, or at least had a problem where that says, hey, we need to fix this personally?
Yeah, so for me, fortunately, I have not been physically brutalized or in an altercation or something with police, but I have absolutely been profiled and stopped and questioned when I was nowhere near doing anything that warranted that. I think that's commonplace. The other thing for me is when I've got family who are justice involved and seeing their experience and working with them to kind of move from, say, a mistake that had been made in the past and realizing how much that saddles them for being able to move forward and be successful later on. Like, those are all sort of issues and challenges that we face, and the system absolutely needs to change, and you're not far removed from that as a black man, as someone growing up in Oakland, and so that's a reality.
Yeah, I remember. For me, in 2006, I was coming back from. Actually, I was a member of an organization called Women in Sports and Events. And coming back from the Giants game, I dropped two women off who were actually really drunk,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going back across the bridge, and this is when they were reconstructing the bridge. And I thought, I turned on the Bryant side, as you do when you get on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing. I thought Godzilla had taken out the bridge. And I went, whoa. And as I did that, I hit accidentally a fellow in front of me. It was only like 6 miles per hour. So we both agreed to call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Cop says we have to breathalyze. I said, that's fine, because I'm thinking, I ain't drinking,
Yeah.
His deputy, they turned up 0 first time, 0 the second time. Then his deputy says, come on, cough it up.
They're serious?
I'm very serious. And then he said, now he's over. And so I wind up spending 4 hours that night, and the other time I was the same year, coming back to the Balboa Cafe, and there's a dude tailgating me. I don't know why to this day.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't leave me alone. He was actually changing lanes with me. And I was freaking out. So I'm thinking, how do I get rid of this guy? Oh, I know. I'll call the cop. So highway patrol officers in the middle lane. I deliberately went in front of the highway patrol officer, Loren. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To get it, I'm like waving. The dude that was tailgating me went flying by at 80. I'm thinking, I'm going, get him, get him, get him, right? Instead, get to, east side of the bridge, off ramp, do their lights. I'm saying, hey, I was trying to get your attention. He says, well, you were speeding. I said, I was only doing 67, sir, but the person I was pointing to you at, did you see that? He goes, I don't see that. I didn't see that. Yeah. I said, you serious? So he says, don't worry, we're going to get you out of here. And so he's talking to his guy like he's training him. He puts me up like this, and he's handcuffing me.
You
No, I'm not kidding.
you
And
were
so
out of the car at this point?
I was out of the car.
Gotcha.
And my tears started to roll because I'm thinking, seriously? Because I thought I was actually going to be out. The next step, he picked my body up and body slammed me on the patrol car hood. Okay. And I had an out of body experience. My attorney was Boo Dubois. We had him come, this high patrol guy, and I'm going to get his name and start broadcasting it because it's still trauma for me. Because my late step brother-in-law was Ralph Grant, and he couldn't find me. They said that I wasn't at the Santa Rita jail. She flew from Georgia and insisted I was there, and I wasn't. Meanwhile, the other inmates were like, well, gee, you don't belong here. So they were actually trying to say, hey, help this guy out. Okay, that's how my life is, okay? Yeah. And I was only supposed to for 4 hours. Well, my point is that these stories should not be. And there's this gigantic mow that takes in black men that starts with lying, like in that case, and abuse under the idea that, hey, no one's going to do anything to you. And I have a diary of all the times I've been lied about, either personally or professionally, and and how it's shaped me, even from a tech perspective, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's
Absolutely.
like,
and
I'm sorry.
That, Denny, I mean, that's the reality that we face that most don't see. And it doesn't get daylight. So it's great that we've got technology now where everybody's got a cell phone camera and we've got body cams that, a lot of, I will say, fighting and evidence now are becoming standardized. And that visibility is what's creating more understanding, awareness, and advocacy, right? But even still, what does it say that something has to be so egregious to have someone with a knee on someone else's neck for more than 9 minutes in order to put a jury in a position where they really don't have any other choice? Like that, my fear is that this verdict that we saw, albeit a good one and appropriate and a just one, the bar should not have to be that high for us to get, justice. And it shouldn't be something that I will say egregious that we feel the need to celebrate a verdict, a just verdict, as opposed to that's just something that we should expect from our system, that if there is an act like that, there shall be the consequence that goes along with it. Like that should be standard, not something that's, cause for national kind of celebration. And I think that's what we need to get past and get through, is to where, no, it's expected that when this happens, that we know that there will be some sense of, and obviously not complete justice because we don't have George Floyd back, but there will be at least some sense of atonement for that.
What steps would you like to see take next? And I'd like to know your opinion on the Berkeley mayor who just took a measure saying that they're not going to give out tickets for like broken taillights or I think too many parking tickets or something like that. But what that's a major step. What do you think about Oakland doing something like that? Yeah.
So it's my understanding that we in Oakland are not stopping people for broken taillights or air fresheners or, hanging from their, rear view mirror, et cetera. And that has been an administrative sort of policy. As you know, in Oakland, our resources are pretty stretched. And so in light of that, I think that has caused a prioritization in addition to the social justice side of what we're doing and not doing. So I think to formalize it, to say that is not going to be the, I will say the cause of a stop or an interaction with law enforcement, I think that's appropriate, and we should certainly support that.
I'm wondering if we should take an official policy on diversity. The reason I asked that question is because I've been in Oakland since '74, and I remember when I started as a columnist with the Montclarian, people wrote in the reason they went visited or where they moved to Oakland was diversity, 64%. But we've never had an official policy, you know, that spelled out that we are a diverse city and we'll maintain that, and here's how we're going to do it. Uh, is it possible to? I think it's possible to do that. What do you think, though?
So honestly, maybe I'm not the politician's politician because I'm not trying to do something to get the headline or to say, hey, we did it. I'm really looking at what's the impact that it's going to have. And when I first hear you say that, and when I approach policy, it starts with what's the problem that we're trying to solve, and then how effective might this solution be at solving it. I'm not quite clear yet what a policy on diversity would do or create that actually moves the needle in what we're really attempting to address. So not to jump too quickly on top of your idea, but that's usually the question that I start with. Well, what's the impact or the change that it's going to have?
No, but I think your response is just, accurate, and intelligent because we haven't had the discussion. But it reminds me, brief, to put it very succinctly, of my urban planning training, and we talked about the ideal city being the retail at the bottom, living on top, and then you have a diverse set of businesses. And so you have the barber, the baker, the candlestick maker, right? We've pretty much priced them out. So
Mhm.
if we were to establish a policy, by its nature, it would have to be economically diverse, which would then theoretically bring in or buttress your racial diversity, right? Um, and it would cause us to really think about how we're structuring our city.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of merit to what you're describing in terms of those elements that we want to make sure are maintained and preserved here in Oakland. And I know that we've got the like for specific ethnic groups, we've got their affiliate organizations, support organizations, advocacy groups. So when we talk about preserving the Black culture, heritage, placekeeping, placemaking, we've got the Black Cultural Zone. We've got the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. We've got a number of other organizations, too many to list out, that are working on just that. When it comes to the Latino community, when it comes to the Asian community, similarly. And I think part of our policy, part of its policy, but the other piece is our implementation of our budget, how we prioritize those resources, how we make decisions that are inclusive, and how we incorporate this variety of voices into the political process, into the economic development process, and the broad range. I think that's what I focus on is how to move the needle relative to those opportunities.
Hey, I'm sorry, out of respect for your time, are there initiatives that you're working on that you want people to get behind and know about?
We've got a number of initiatives. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our ESO Ventures program. We
I
launched.
am.
There you go.
I'll give you a lead there.
There you go. There you go. No, I appreciate that. So yeah, we started a program on entrepreneurship support and entrepreneurship incubation, and it started in September of last year, right in the thick of the COVID pandemic, and we started with a goal. We were gonna, take a handful of businesses and business owners from East Oakland for East Oakland and really help them grow, because we recognize that part of building a strong, vibrant economy is making sure that you're growing from within and building from within. We started off with a goal of 25 businesses to be in a cohort. Our first cohort at more than 90 applicants, and these are businesses 80% Black, 20% Latinx businesses, owners from East Oakland or with roots in East Oakland that are looking at building businesses to benefit sort of the community and be a part of that. We just wrapped up our second cohort, and it's exciting, the momentum we're building around that, because I do believe that that's one aspect of really helping to address those gaps, not just technical assistance, but actually looking at how we bring capital to these organizations, how we create opportunities for them to showcase and actually launch their business, going to helping them set up pop-ups in different areas. Another initiative are working with the Black Cultural Zone, the Acoma Market, and how we created an outdoor market also in the midst of the pandemic, and that as a place for our local businesses to showcase and to engage with customers, as well as other aspects of what a outdoor farmers market can do, be, and mean to East Oakland, where we don't have anything between High Street and the San Leandro border.
Where are we in terms of, or let me ask this another way. Are you satisfied with the plans for how to divvy up the 129 million that's coming from the federal government?
So what I'll say is that I know that there are a lot of folks that are looking at, hey, $129 million, that's a significant amount of money. I think we just went through not just having administration provide their overview of where Oakland is financially, but we also had an outside economic analyst come in as well. And I think both, there was a very small difference between the two. And what the projections are is that as we're filling the gaps from this year, and as we look towards the next 2-year cycle based on revenues that are projected, that $192 million gets absorbed fairly quickly just to maintain what we've been doing the past 2 years. Now, that there's always that question of like, well, maybe we don't need to maintain certain things that we have been doing, and we can manage a service reduction in this area so that we can, push some of those dollars, those $192 million, into some new programs. That's what we as a council are going to have to wrestle with over the next 2 months. How do we create that balance, recognizing that the money that's coming in isn't projected to overcompensate for the gap that we will see over the next 2 years.
Has anyone talked about bringing back redevelopment more? And the reason I keep emphasizing that question to different people is under redevelopment, we could take our property tax revenues, use it for tax increment financing. I remember Henry Gardner, and I had a conversation about this years ago when I was asking him about the application of a section of code called 33678 subdivision B, which allows you to use services for an area. He said that we did that, we mean the city of Oakland, to remove crack houses in East Oakland in 1983. So, so I'm wondering, they have the tool, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why we're not getting it back. That's all.
Absolutely. No. And as you know, that's a state level program, right? So
yeah.
The redevelopment. So it's not something that we can do at the local level, but I'm a big fan and an advocate of something that does resemble redevelopment, where we're able to bring in those revenues that can catalyze the development and transformation that we that we're seeking. I was just on the line, a Zoom call with 3 different classes from Castlemont. Castlemont High School has a sustainable urban design academy that for sophomores, juniors, and seniors, where it's taking them through the aspects of urban planning and design. And so we were talking about some of those elements, and redevelopment came up, and aspects of tax increment financing, and how we might be able to sort of use dollars from future increases in revenues in order to catalyze the improvements that we need today, whether that's applied to the sort of Coliseum site, whether it's applied to MacArthur Corridor in East Oakland, Bancroft Avenue, East 14th International, you name it. There are definitely opportunity sites that really just need a little bit of a catalyst, and then it can kind of expand from there. So I'm fully supportive of innovative financing models like that in order to move forward and bring the transformation and the improvements that are needed. Obviously focused on equitable development, and development that actually looks out for and uplifts those native indigenous Oaklanders, as opposed to simply creating something for those who are coming from the outside.
As we close, when will we know from your perspective that we're back, that everything is back to normal. I don't know if we'll ever get back to normal, but yeah, when things are better.
Yeah, so I'll answer that in two ways. First of all, I don't want us to get back to the normal that we had, because that normal was inequitable. That normal kept a disparity gap between African Americans, Latinx folks, and others. It perpetuated the lack of investment that we have in East Oakland, that I'm fighting hard against, and so many others are fighting hard against in order to transform. So I'm not fighting to just get back to where we were. I'm fighting to get back to what we should have been, where we need to be, if we really are going to live into the values of Oakland. In terms of how I know that we are post COVID, I think that question, it's really about, for me, when we are. I look at it in terms of the community that we build and create, and how we, I will say, add to each other, and we create those greater opportunities. Well, a lot of folks have had setbacks. It has been tough on so many people, and I will say it has had much more heavily hit those lower income, in terms of within our communities, within our city, within our society. And to me, we've got to keep working to lift them up, because we're not going to judge being back just based on stock prices. We're not going to judge being back based on those who have had and haven't suffered. We're going to have to look at those who have been impacted the most and make sure that they have the sustainability, the resilience, in order to really thrive and reach full opportunities and potential.
Hey, Councilmember, stick around in the background, but I want to thank you very much for. We're gonna do this again and have a check-in where we're at, and
there's a lot going on. So yes, I welcome that.
Yeah, and keep fighting the good fight and representing not just District 6, but Oakland as well. Stick around for a second. Hey, everybody, we'll be back a little later with former Oakland Councilmember John Russo. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Thanks.